All right, let's dive into one of the most incredible, fundamental processes happening inside our bodies literally every second: muscle contraction. We're going to take a journey to the microscopic level to see what's really going on every single time you make a move.
I mean, really think about it for a second. You decide to pick something up and it just happens. But how? What's the actual mechanism behind that simple thought turning into a physical action? Well, it's not magic. It's this beautifully choreographed dance of proteins and ions happening trillions of times a day inside of you.
So, to really get this, we're going to break this molecular dance down into 5 key parts. First, we'll meet the protein players. Then we'll see how the stage is set for them. We'll find out what signal kicks everything off. We'll watch the main event, the power stroke. And finally, we'll see how it all resets for the next move. Ready? Okay, first things first. Let's introduce our cast of characters. These are the proteins that are, quite literally, the tiny engines of all your movement.
First up, we have myosin. This is what we call the thick filament. Now, the most important part of myosin to remember are its 2 little heads that stick out. You can think of these as tiny, microscopic motors, just waiting to grab on and pull.
So, what do those myosin heads grab onto? That would be our next player, actin. This is the thin filament. It's kind of like a long, thin rope made of 2 twisted chains. And all along this rope, there are these very special binding sites, the exact spots where those myosin heads are designed to connect. So here's the crucial relationship you have to get. Myosin, with its little motor heads, basically stays put. It's the actin, the thin filament, that actually gets pulled and slides past it. That sliding motion, that right there is the essence of a muscle contraction.
But, this interaction can't just happen whenever it wants. We've got 2 very important supporting characters that act like gatekeepers. First, there's tropomyosin. It's a long protein that's wrapped around actin, and its whole job is to physically block those binding sites when the muscle is just resting. And attached to it is troponin, which not only holds tropomyosin in place, but has a special spot that's just waiting for a calcium ion to show up.
Okay, so we've met the players. Now let's take a look at the stage where all of this incredible action takes place, the inside of a muscle cell. This microscopic theater is called the sarcoplasm. Yeah, it's a bit of a technical name, but it's really just the special term for the cytoplasm inside a muscle cell, and it's where our actin and myosin filaments hang out.
Now, surrounding all these filaments is a really critical piece of infrastructure, the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Think of it as a calcium warehouse. Its main job is to store massive amounts of calcium ions, keeping them all locked away until it gets the signal to let them loose.
And this really says it all about the resting state. When there's no signal, our gatekeepers, troponin and tropomyosin, are on duty. They're covering up those binding sites on the actin, meaning the myosin heads have nothing to grab onto. The muscle is relaxed. You could say the safety is on.
So let's just pause here for a quick question. We know contraction is all about these filaments sliding past each other. So if a single little unit of a muscle, we call it a sarcomere, is about 2.5 micrometers long when it's just chilling out, what do you think happens to its length when it contracts? Does it get longer or shorter? That's right, it gets shorter. The filaments themselves, they don't actually shrink. They just slide over each other, pulling the ends of that sarcomere closer together, which shortens the whole unit. Now multiply that tiny effect by millions, and you get a full-blown muscle contraction. So we've met the players and the stage is perfectly set. How do we get this show on the road? Well, it all starts with a signal, an electrical spark, really.
It's a super fast chain reaction. First, a nerve impulse, an electrical signal, zaps that calcium warehouse, the sarcoplasmic reticulum. In response, this signal throws open the gates, and the reticulum releases all its stored calcium. Then, these calcium ions just flood the whole area and immediately bind to their target, those troponin molecules we met earlier.
And this is the mechanical genius of the whole process. When calcium latches onto troponin, it forces troponin to change its shape. And because troponin is physically hooked to that long tropomyosin rope, this shape change literally yanks the tropomyosin strand aside and pulls it out of the way.
And boom! Just like that, the gate is open. The binding sites on the actin filament are now totally exposed and ready for those myosin heads to finally attach. The stage is set for the main event.
And now, for the moment we have all been waiting for, the power stroke. This is the actual physical movement that powers, well, everything you do.
Here's how the cycle works. First, with those binding sites wide open, the myosin heads latch on, forming what we call a cross bridge. Then comes the main event, the power stroke. The myosin head pivots backwards, almost like an oar pulling through water, and it drags that actin filament right along with it. This powerful pull is fueled by energy that was already stored in the myosin head from a previously broken down energy molecule called ATP. And you might be wondering, where does all this ATP energy even come from? Well, our muscles have a few tricks up their sleeve. For normal, sustained activity, they use aerobic respiration, which needs oxygen. But for really intense, short bursts of action, your body can switch to anaerobic respiration or even tap into a super fast energy reserve called creatine phosphate. So the power stroke happened. But one little pull isn't going to contract a whole muscle, right? The system has to reset itself so it can do it again and again, pulling that actin filament even further.
And this is where a new molecule of ATP becomes absolutely critical. So a new ATP molecule comes along and attaches to the myosin head. As soon as it does, it makes the head let go of the actin, breaking that cross bridge. Then that new ATP is broken down, releasing its energy. And that energy is what recocks the myosin head, swinging it back into its high-energy, ready-to-go position to start the whole cycle over again.
So you see, it's a continuous cycle. As long as there's calcium around to keep those binding sites open, and as long as there's enough ATP to power both the release and the recocking, those myosin heads will just keep walking along the actin filament, shortening the muscle more and more with every single step. And that leads us to a final pretty fascinating question. We just saw that ATP is absolutely essential for breaking those cross bridges, for letting the myosin head detach. So, what do you think would happen if a muscle completely ran out of ATP? The myosin heads couldn't let go, they'd get stuck, latched onto the actin, and the muscles would become locked in place. It's a pretty powerful reminder of how this tiny microscopic dance is the very definition of life and movement itself.